it's tricky because
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Still Life at Dusk. This is a work in progress presentation of a devised play collaboratively created by a group of people that are about to introduce themselves to you. We're going to take a moment now to introduce ourselves and look at some Zoom settings that will help you see the play or this piece in its best outfit. My name is Eileen McGratty. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I am the director of this piece and a third-year director at Brown Trinity.
My name is Lizzie Brooks. I use she, her, hers, and I'm a third-year actor.
My name is Paige Carter. I'm the stage manager, and I'm not a student at Brown, but I love the people.
Thank you. Not with us at this moment, I believe, is Kate Freer, who has been our design mentor and has been integral in helping us explore camera and video in this process. So we're going to take a moment now and talk through a couple of Zoom settings, everyone's favorite thing. Firstly, I'd like to invite you to enter full screen mode on your Zoom so that it takes up the entirety of your screen. And then we're going to be in speaker view. You can get to speaker view by an icon in your upper right-hand corner of your screen. It has a series of boxes and it says view. And in speaker view, you are we're going to do a little test right now of how screen sharing looks in speaker view. So Paige is going to bring up a YouTube timer, which has been one of our favorite joys through the course of this rehearsal process. For anyone that is interested, might I recommend going down the YouTube timer rabbit hole? There are treasures to be discovered there. So right now, what you should be seeing is a couple of dogs, one of which is wearing a party hat, now little puppy. And the idea is what we would like you to do is adjust your settings so that the only thing you see on your screen is the YouTube dog timer. This is how you can make sure that that's what you're seeing. Up at the top of your screen, there is a green bar that says you are viewing Paige Carter's screen and view options. Now you're going to toggle down on view options and make sure that side-by-side mode is unchecked. What that will do is it'll make it so that you are only looking at the screen that Paige is sharing. And then if you are noticing that my wall of books here is in a little thumbnail video to the right of the adorable dog timer, you're going to go to the top of that column of thumbnails and choose the shape that looks like a little flat pancake, which is to not show thumbnail videos. So this way you are only looking at one video at a time. We're going to be toggling between video content and live stream, and this will help you get the best, rather not best, but the intended experience of the piece. Of course, any piece of live performance is choose your own adventure, so feel free to ignore everything or anything I just said. Great. I will be on the chat if you want to chat hosts, and I'm happy to help out with any technical difficulties you might encounter along the way. All right. Lizzie and Paige, are we ready to go?
Ready?
All right. Thank you. Please enjoy pieces of Still Life at Dusk.
Recording. You can see me, yes? I look damn good in this one. Hey! I once came back as a sock puppet. It was not very fun, very itchy. But this, oh, look at these. Oh, these are strong. This other time, they saw me as a blind old man and I had to be carried everywhere. The climb of Mount Etna was a bitch. But this, oh, I can dance in this. Yeah. Doesn't seem too tall. Oh, what is this, like 5'2"? The old guy was 3 cubits tall. Can you even imagine? But this is good. Oh, strong arms, strong hands. She's got a tattoo! Ah! I've always wanted one of those. Okay. Thank you for this, for seeing me as this. You know that thing? The thing where how the storyteller looks affects how the story tastes? Well, I know that when I came to see you, you would decide how you saw me. So, why do you need to see me as thus? Huh. Oh, that's funny. You think you don't know me. Okay. It's funny because I do know you. I know you. I know the plot of every movie you've ever watched. I know all the words to your favorite song. I know the Three Little Pigs. I know Mary and her Little Lamb. I know Bugs Bunny, Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, Mighty Mouse, Charlie Chaplin, Cleopatra, Mark Antony, and Beowulf. I know the Bible, the Quran, the Mahabharata, the Tanakh, and the Book of Mormon, the musical, and the golden plates. I know what's going on in the news right now. I know the history of the land beneath your feet and the history of every land your ancestors ever walked on. I know that secret you told your best friend in your closet when you were 6 and you made her pinky swear never to tell anybody. And I know she didn't. I know the books your grandmother read to you in bed. I know the poem you wrote about your first crush. I know the moves to your interpretive dance about climate change. I know your pre-existing conditions. I know the porn you watch. Yeah, all of it. I know your name, Alfredo Antion. And you, Tobias, I know the last text you sent. I know everything about you because I love you. I have loved you since. You're not impressed. Tobias, maybe, but the rest of y'all? Fine. I stilled my divine energy into heavy matter so I could appear to you within the walls of one of my countless temples, and I find it deserted. I find you empty because there's nowhere you are that I can't be. And when we finally meet, Hannah is like, oh, I wonder what's on Instagram. That reminds me of this one time. It was so funny. This one time, humans thought they could capture story when they invented photography. Catching light into a box. They thought they could train it to sit and stay, to not run wild into the night. You have a copy of an impression of a shadow. And then you strung the photographs into moving picture. For sure, finally, story has been tamed by man. Oh, how great we are. Do you really think you could keep me in a box? You have this hidden part. I've always wondered how humans could just make story. It comes pouring out of you, and you don't even have to try. Do I have that part? Huh. Okay, all right. Cat, is it in that necklace around your neck? Is that where you keep it? But I don't have a necklace. Well, is it here? No. Is it here? No. What if I don't have one? Well, I have to, right? No. I must. Oh. I think I found it. It's here. I think it's right here. I'm leaking. It's crying. I don't know what you call it. This is what it feels like. I have one! Ah! I have one and I have a tattoo! This is the best! Wow! I watch and watch and watch you all and listen to your tales of adventure and lust. And I sit with you in spirit, sit with the others, but nobody has ever asked me for my... Well, I guess I can't tell you to open yours if I've never opened mine. Okay. Wow. Never done this before. Okay. It's getting hot. It's hot, right? Are y'all hot? My story's always been wrapped up in yours, so I'm not really sure where to start. Okay, just start. I'm not really sure where to start. How did these things start again? Once upon a time, you know every story ever written, and all you can come up with is once upon a time. Get it together. Okay, I like the sound the ocean makes when the water leaves the sand. Sometimes, when I'm off the edge of a fishing boat and all the other sailors go to sleep and the ocean's children dance below the waves, I float. Just float. I've never told anyone that before. That felt good. Once upon a time, no, it was before a time. Before once I just was. A slip of consciousness, a glimmering pool of magic surrounded by dust, listening for what? How could I have known? Listening for you. The first cry, just barely intelligible above the animals and the rustling reeds. A sudden awakening, a cry of, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. Am I the only one? When I heard that first cry, I was drawn, compelled from my puddle to help it find its audience. I was just a small, shimmering cloud, but I gave it all I had. I was like, my breath lofted that wisp of a question into the air. My breath landed it right onto an ear. My breath slid that cry within, and suddenly, a moment of meeting, an answering cry. I'm here too. The energy of that first human connection, of recognition, of the first true listening filled me. So I wanted more. A human would have a basic yearning, I'm hungry. And I would sprinkle a little on that cry, and it would get a little louder, and another human would hear it. Oh, hey, share this dank fish with me, dude. Delicious. And then, still early on, one night, it always comes at night. Do you realize what a gift night is to humanity? Do you think you would have fire otherwise? Anyways, one night, when bellies were full, and it was too early to go to sleep, and nobody was having sex right at that instant, one of you stood up. I remember it so clearly. One of you stood up in front of your friends, family, lovers, rivals. Then you began to the first song. I swear to you, the stars drew in closer to hear it. And I was thrumming with it. Never before had my very matter been shaken. It felt like, how can I explain this? Imagine the best orgasm you've ever had and multiply it by the best food you've ever eaten. Just ha, 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 ha! Like that. And when it was over, too soon, everybody agreed it was too soon. But when it was over, I was huge. I was big enough to weave around every human in that circle, feeling their synchronous hearts beating with elation, with longing. I was so excited. I was so powerful. I could be in 2, 3 places at once. When you sought out new lands, I traveled with you and stayed behind. You built cities on opposite sides of the earth. I heard you all at the same time. I was like, I was on fire! In this corner, we've got the Mesopotamians coming down the pike. It's the Indus Valley civilization. Who's building those pyramids? It's the Egyptians. Check out the action across the pond. Mayans taking over, but don't sleep on the Chinese making it happen in Asia. Here come the Greeks. Oh, hello. What's up, Persian Empire? And what's popping up in a day? It's the Romans! But don't look now, but the Aztecs are coming in hot. And who's bringing the thunder? It's the Incas! Humans. You created jobs, and I made an economy. You sang a song, and I a theater. You made a proclamation, and I a government. You wrote a book, and I a religion. I was drunk on story, guzzling it in, drenched in it. There was so much of it. And the variety, the power, can you even imagine? It tasted so good. I gave to everyone, and it all came back to feed me. And then there was this man, charismatic, graceful, passionate, a smile like lightning, a voice like thunder, dazzling. He wanted to help his people. unite the lands, create a world that was good for everyone. Of course, I wanted to help him. He was helping you. And if I'm honest, I gave him a little extra. It worked. His speeches ignited the people. His words galvanized his followers. He took over. And he took that power and went into another land. And I swear, I thought he was there to help. And there would be more story, more life. Instead, he burned it. Then, erased. Extinct. A local apocalypse. Ashes. He only wanted to spread his own stories and erase others. The pain. It was the first time I felt, it was the first time I noticed it. Sudden absence. An abscess. I didn't exactly get smaller, but I could feel that I was incomplete. There, a threadbare. There, a hole. Had that been there before? There, a language holding on by a thread. There, an old song forced into silence. There, a religion practiced in fearful secret. There, a griot executed. There, memories evaporated. It's like when you reach your hand to the invisible top of your head and you discover a bald spot. And you're like, when did this happen? Will it ever grow back? Did I do this? So I tried to fix it. There would be people about to succumb to violent invaders, so I'd and then they'd be rising up, slaughtering their enemies with a cruelty even greater than they had experienced. Sometimes it worked. Flourishing music, unstoppable dance, bold stories about freedom, love, and justice. But always somewhere else, I was straining to breathe the mother tongue into the mouths of children who had been taken from their families. Patches of my vastness decaying into emptiness. Pockmarked. Poisoned. I thought about the first song. About how we had helped each other. I to grow, and you to grow closer. I promise I didn't know that I wanted to help. It sounded... I'm sorry.
Y'all can come back into the space.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yes, Lizzie!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yes.
Woo!
Trudy.
So I would love to we're just going to take a short amount of time, and because this is an unfinished piece, we'd love to gather some information from you, our first audience, to help us understand what this world is when it's blooming in your imaginations, as opposed to circling around our little whirlpool of space. So what I would love to do in this moment, something that the Brown Trinity community has done a lot of today, so we're very well practiced, is I'm going to ask some questions, and I would love for you to drop some answers in the chat or to say them out loud. Bring your voice into the space, but yeah, it'll be really helpful for us to understand what's sticking, what's splintering, and where do the opportunities lie here. So it looks like the chat is activated, I believe.
It is.
Great, thank you, Paige. And I'd love just to start with what do you remember? What do you remember? What's sticking for you? Eye contact, fresh text, tattoos, the first song, pain, Mary Had a Little Lamb, local apocalypse, empty theaters, dead streaming, orgasm, the first song, Alfie Tobias, a light as a face, finding a bald spot on the back of your invisible head, the empty white box, there, a threadbare. No one was having sex, unlikely. Well, there's got to be a time. All the porn you watch, the digital body met with live body. Tobias is impressed. Inkins. Do you know what a gift night is to humanity, to perspectives? Cat's necklace, multiple perspectives. Great, thank you. Running through the ER. Awesome. Spice hands. Great. I want to invite now questions that you're left with. And it's great if there are questions that we can't answer. Where did your mind go? Where did the sidewalk end for you in this piece? Maybe literally incarnating a god. Yeah. Or all gods, comma that changes the meaning of a title. Yeah. What questions? What do stories get used for? Also, questions that are points of confusion for you is helpful for us to know. Where on earth are we? Where are we? Am I in God's presence? What happens next? What is story? What happens to spaces usually so alive when they are left empty? Do they have lives of their own? What time is it? Why now? Where in Earth's timeline are we? Will Lizzie, the artist in space, meet the woman in the black dress? Who? Which who? What are the chairs doing without us? That is very important. Which is this the god or one of the pantheon gods or other? Will there be more cameras? Great, thank you. Is Lizzie really possessed or will we meet her? Is there conflict internally? What does a mask mean here? Great, awesome. We could include Brown Trinity's COVID safe guidelines as text in our piece. That'll help us. That'll give us time, place, and dramaturgy. Great, thank you so much. And then I suppose last but not least, I wanted to share a little bit about how we worked on this piece and then to open the space, because we have a little bit of time, to questions that we maybe could answer. I'll talk a little bit about what you saw, and then if you have any questions, we'd love to hear them, or if you don't, we will all be released back to the analog world. So this piece was born out of a desire to create a piece of COVID-safe theater for a closed space. What can you do with a theater when you're not allowed to invite an audience into it? My going in proposal was, what if there is a piece of theater that one actor could do where the audience was either watching on Zoom, or perhaps the video from inside of the theater would be projected on the exterior walls, so that perhaps it could be a piece that you could watch from the sidewalk outside, or a parking lot, or a car, and see sort of an X-ray into a theater. We started there, and we read some source material that felt like it was within our world. Our source material was Borges's, what's it called? It's the library short story that Borges wrote. We read Happy Days by Samuel Beckett. We read An Iliad by Dennis O'Hare and Lisa Peterson. And we read a short story called The River by Adrienne Marie Brown. Oh, and we read a speech by Nalo Hopkinson called Report from Planet Midnight. So we read all of these pieces, responded to them with writing, took some of that writing, did a bunch of experiments in camera, rehearsal in space with the intention to perform the entire thing live. As it turns out, I'm not allowed, this is the last day of my quarantine, so get ready to see me back in the studios. But we're not able to do our whole thing live, so we ended up splicing together rehearsal footage as well as live performed text to be able to present our work to you tonight. I think that is a fair description. What do you think, Lizzie and Paige?
I think you nailed it.
I think you nailed it. There was a lot of improv and then writing from improv. Yes, we're almost done with quarantine. Yeah, we were supposed to do it in person. And then I'm alone in a room, but it's fine. It's nice to have all y'all. Good.
Yeah. Any, I don't know, thoughts, questions, things you'd like to voice into the space at the end of this long day? Han?
It's interesting that the pre-recorded content was an accident, or not an accident, but a late choice. I was really excited in that moment. Forget what the line was exactly. Lizzie's character said something about like something humanity, and then it would cut to this pre-recorded. Lizzie looks so good. It's true. This pre-recorded video, and I was like, oh, like this character has the power to generate film work, or like, and so it made pre-recorded content feel like really alive and magical to me in a really specific way. So I was just really interested in like that tension between the live and the pre-recorded, and how you used it, knowing that that was a late addition to the creative family.
Yeah, that I don't know if that needs an answer.
Sorry, I thought, yeah, I ended up making a statement. I
Yeah,
guess
it's a great statement. Thank you.
if you want to speak on that, I would love to know from you or Lizzie or anyone just about navigating that.
Just use of the pre-recorded stuff. Basically, Eileen let me loose in the ER and was like, "There's a ghost," and she gave me strips of paper, and I got to like explore elements. But yeah, I think we were just trying to tell the story in like movement score, and then like it kind of worked out that we have Paige, who's like a boss about recording, and so then we had all this amazing footage. But yeah, we're just trying to figure out a movement score to under or support the writing. And then we ended up using it. So I don't know if that's speak.
I just It's not a question, but I just want to lift up and celebrate the way that you know, between the three of you, you created an experience that um, connected me to space and the space of theater making. Um, you know, especially at this point where we're kind of like so far um, from this moment where we've been in space, whether that's the second and third years in our literal memories of those spaces, or um, all of our memories of being in theater. But between this introduction that kind of like grounded us in this relationship of seeing the theater in the way that we used to feel walking into a physical theater building, or like streaming into the seats or watching what the thing is, or this idea or this grounding of all of us in our little Zoom screens as people in seats. It almost like connected us to the experience of watching it with the rest of the people watching it. And then to create that stage, literally and figuratively, and then Lizzie to watch you kind of step into that stage and um, occupy in this way, and the setup for the two cameras, which allowed this kind of like democratic movement of my eye, which replicated what it's like watching a real body on stage. And so like I got to watch Lizzie be magnetic and personable in a way that just reminded me of a way of viewing that I haven't had in a long time. And I really, really appreciated the three of your work for being able to give that to me. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, but I have this big question about what are these halls for that we have now? What are these rooms where there's 1,000 seats pointed in the same direction? What do we do with those? What's that for? Yeah. Well, if there, oh, is there?
Angela had her hand up.
Hi.
This is not fully formed at all. It always takes me a while to come to something, but I'm really struck by the vulnerability of a deity, and that this deity was hurting and in pain because of the increase of space between herself and I think the humans, maybe, or the loss of reach that she had. I'm still working it out, but it was very moving to me and surprising to see a deity who has so much power, a power that I viscerally know and understand, to be hurting and in pain because she's trying to, I don't know, it's like that power is sifting like sand through her fingers and she's trying to catch it as it goes or something. I'm gonna think about it more and then have a talk with you maybe. I'm really interested in that though. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you, Angela.
Thanks, Angela. Yeah, I think we were kind of thinking about like if there's a person that has known every story ever, they think they know everything. And then we were kind of discussing that there are things that we've never said out loud to another human being, and therefore she wouldn't be able to hear or manifest. And so like what is that space where you say all the things that you wouldn't dare say aloud or write down or share to another human being. And then when she discovers, we don't know what it is because it's unfinished, but when she discovers that there's the part in people that they don't say everything, and what she do, and she's never told her own story before. She's always listened to others, so she's always been like a I don't know what it, like, not a tool, but like a witness, I guess. Eileen, would you say that? Like a witness to others, and like she would aggrandize these stories, but no one's ever asked her. And so once she realizes that there is something that like, is within everybody, she's like, I want that. I want that.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked a little bit about like also the pain of like we talked about like the ultimate sin against this character is like the erasure of culture. Like if stories get forgotten, if languages get forgotten, like it literally is like pieces of herself are dying. And that like her physical experience is like sort of the sum total of all human culture in the world. And and that the vulnerability is that cultures get erased. And of course, the ultimate vulnerability being that humans could get erased. Yeah, Brian?
Uh, I was wondering, Eileen and Lizzie and Paige, if you all would be open to talking about community agreements and how those decisions kind of informed your process, and then how inviting us into the space impacted your experience of the work. Because I'm very interested, we've had some great conversations about that, and I think it's valuable to share if you're open to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a little bit of a leading question because Brian was actually our first outside audience member earlier this week. And I mentioned that in anticipation of Brian's arrival, which I'm sure many people in this room have experienced, of like, oh my goodness, like someone is coming to watch the work, better like zhuzh it up real quick, like better like, oh my, like we have like 5 minutes to like make, to make it like for Brian. And it violated one of our community agreements that we've been working really actively with, which is that we were going to treat time as an abundant resource. And we had been working in an abundance of time, taking time to check in, to dream into the story, to be kind to ourselves as human beings. And the entrance of like the like outside pressure is what actually sort of pressed against the community agreements and ending up sort of fracturing one of them. Paige and Lizzie, do you want to talk about anything else in relationship to community agreements?
I mean, I'll say that for the three of us, it was our first time being in an all female identified group, which was part of our agreements to just really embrace that. And I think that was really neat, especially with it also being our first time in a digital space working on an extended project like this. We had I just pulled them up to look at them, agreements about empathy and having space for human beings. And I think so often you don't say those things, but we really did. And I think it translates into how well we were able to work together. And even though it shifted so many times, we came up with something that we really believe in and we're proud of. So yeah. Lizzie, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I think my favorite community agreement was just like have all the jokes and have all the fun. And I think we had to like really revisit that. It was easy, obviously, with these two because they were a riot. But I think it's like that, like, I know for me personally, I'm like a type A perfectionist person. And so I'm like, what is the product? What is the thing? I need to be good at something. And like, it was just like, no, have fun, explore every avenue. And I treasure the space. We actually made a mythology and a whole goddess, and that was a lot of work. There are a lot of rules. When you really think about it, there are a lot of rules. Then you're like, we would just sit there and be like, what if she does that? Can she do that? I don't think so. It's a lot of work to make a whole weird little religion thing. But yeah, so we're still working on it, but it was a lot of work. So I'm glad fun was in there. I'm glad we said it so we didn't push ourselves into the ground and start, being sad.
Yeah, well, thank you all. Are there any other hands that I don't see? But thank you all for being in community with us, for joining us in space at the end of this art-filled Zoom day.
Are we done? Is that all the third years creative space?
Yeah.
Eileen!
Yay!
Yay, Lizzie! Yay, Eileen!
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you both so much. Thank all three of you so much.
Mhm.
Thank
All
you.
three of you so much.
Appreciate y'all.